Okay, well, we're about to go live on Facebook and we've got Tamara Zoner here. Perfect. So let's just bear with while I click the live buttons.
It's your very focused face there.
Type. Okay. Okay, perfect. So we've got it. So I've got it. We talk happiness. So then she is an award-winning speaker and happiness trainer with a live event next week. So there we
Cool.
go.
Woo!
Okay, well, I'm about to hit the live button.
Okay.
Let's see. Hello. It looks like we are going live on Facebook. Congratulations and hello there, everyone. We have got Tamara Zoner in the room with us. So hello. She is an amazing colleague and business owner and also an award-winning speaker and happiness trainer. And I'm with you from Financial Freedom and Joy. And I'm like, wait a second, we've got someone who specializes in joy in the house. So I know you have a live event next week. So we'll talk a little bit about that, though. Let's hear more from you, Tamara. Welcome to the stage.
Thanks, Ren. Thanks for having me here. And financial freedom and joy do go together. If you want to jump right in from that point, the statistics show that happier people make, on average, $1 million more than their unhappier counterparts over their lifetime. So, like, if there's no other reason to do the work, there's so many reasons to do the work. But if money is your guiding light, then that is a good reason to get happy.
Wow. Oh, that's a wonderful statistic. And I'm just curious, do you know the reason behind it? Is it like happy people get more raises or get more goals? Like, is there some, scientific reason behind that too?
Well, there are a lot, but specifically, happier people have more energy. We're healthier. We get better quality sleep. We live longer. So, all of these factors mean that I'm going to be more productive at work, whatever my work is, when I'm practicing. And I like to say that happiness is a practice. So, when I'm practicing the tools and habits of happiness, then I'm more effective and more efficient and more energetic, all those great E words I like. And so I can do more with more and earn more.
I love it. That is so awesome. And I'm curious, how did you get into being a happiness coach? Is it like, I can tell you're abundant. So have you been like abundantly happy your whole life? Or was that something you came to?
I started that way. I think I have a naturally high happiness set point, and I came in pretty optimistic and happy. I'm one of those people who sees the cup as half full, and I come from a long line of optimistic people on my dad's side, and they have influenced me. You can actually see my grandma in the picture behind me. And so I came in happy, but then life happens, right? Life happens. Mom had mental illness. Teenage years were rough. Had a brother who was abusing drugs, and then I got married to a high functioning alcoholic, and then there was more abuse. And so when I got back into psychology and personal development, it was because I was deeply unhappy. I was miserable, and I was a young parent. I had 3 little kids, and I was yelling at them in ways I had vowed never to be. My own mom was coming out of me when my kids were little, and I just thought, this isn't who I am. Like, I've got to change things now. And so I started stepping back into personal development, seeking mentorship and some therapy, and slowly but surely got certifications in life coaching and in happiness training and in some other things. You know what we do, we coaches, we love the certifications. So for a while I just like kept learning and learning and learning until I finally one day learned through this work that I'm already enough. I already know enough. I already have enough. And I have enough to share with others to help them change their lives too.
Wow. Thank you for the work you do. I also see so much of myself in that journey because that's really where it was for me too. Like this abundant little happy kid, we go
Mhm.
through life, bam, 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 bam. And
Yeah.
then it's like that reaction mode. And it's like when people are at their core not happy or suffering, they're going to be lashing out, and then misery loves company.
It does. And we, like attracts like, and we tend to be, there's a great quote, I just used it last night in a talk, that we become the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. And when I first heard that quote was about 12 or 13 years ago when I was still married and like in the thick of it. And I went, oh crap. This is the person that I'm going to be most like because this is who I spend all my time with, plus 3 little kids. So, it was a difficult time. And I could remember, though, that younger spark of me and remember being happier and remembered like, oh, there's a way and I just have to find it. And it required changing my mind about what my experience actually was. And so today I'm so grateful that I get to teach these 7 main habits of happiness because literally you can transform anything in your life. Anything can change. And like, I can't change the fact that there's a snowstorm coming, but I can totally change my perception of it and my attitude about it and what I choose to do with that.
So true.
Yeah.
And I think it's that where we get to respond and then not have it driving us. And
Yeah.
like I know some of the things like we're not able to control those outside triggers like a snowstorm or, a family person that's having an issue. Though
Right.
when it doesn't knock us around, that's priceless.
It is priceless. And your own happiness is like your oxygen mask on the airplane. If you're able to breathe, then you're able to be present with the people in your lives, whether they're your clients or your family, your kids or your friends, even your neighbors. Like, we're of service when we serve ourselves first and take great care of ourselves. So I started doing this when my kids were super little, and I would tell them, mommy's going to practice yoga or breath work or whatever. And you can either wait or join me. And so, when my son, my youngest, was 3 years old, is when I started this all. And sometimes I'd be doing a plank pose and he'd jump right on my back in his little Spider-Man costume, which was fine. And it helped, parenting too is show and not tell. And so I show my kids, like, this is how you take care of yourself. And I still can't control them doing it for themselves,
Yep.
but I can trust that I'm planting the seeds that will serve them later.
That's it. And planting seeds, that's a beautiful thing. And it's also about what you plant or the lack of it. And I like that garden analogy too, because holy smokes, like if you are not mindful about what you plant, anything can sprout. And a lot of times they're weeds that you might not want growing in your garden.
For sure. And that seed planting, we can talk about the people in our lives, the things we watch on TV, how much news we're taking in, what we're reading, listening to,
Yep.
what we're eating, what we're drinking. All of those things are seeds we're planting in our own garden. And like you mentioned, it can either be flourishing with beautiful oxygenating flowers or toxic weeds.
Yep. Oh, well, a real life thing, like, and I had a struggle with this, in the fall is here, or well, depending where you are in the world. So I would say a couple months ago, in October, November 2023, like hearing all the disasters in the world, it was
Mhm.
like, it really rocked my own happiness boat,
Yeah.
especially like wanting to know what was going on and like seeing both sides and the pain and it was like and watching the news even selectively what I noticed is if I was watching like here I'm busy work day, okay, I'll just pop in at the end of the day. I
Yeah.
was dreaming about it. And then the next morning, that was also the first thing on my mind was this upset. And I'm like, I want to be informed. I have so much sympathy. And at the same time, like, where do we take that boundary in our own boundary? Because it's not affecting my life to be in torment over something I don't
Right.
fully have control over. And so that was just a sad though kind of reckoning to myself. I'm like, I need to really be careful about what I'm putting into, you know, my brain, especially in those late and early mornings.
Yes. I love that you brought that up because actually, one research study shows that what you put into that brain in the first 30 minutes of your day can impact you 12 hours later. So the study was people who had encountered some bad news, whether it was personal or on the news, reported a lower mood 12 hours later. Like it lasts. So because what happens is we ruminate, right? We're going over and over and over and over thousands and thousands of thoughts every day. We're repeating the same ones every day, and most of them are negative. And in my courses, I go into all the like deeper statistics on that. But so we're ruminating the negative repeatedly and we're bathing in it. And so I create for myself and my clients like some loving guidelines, loving boundaries around news and information. Of course, we want to be informed, but we don't want to drown ourselves in it. And that early morning and late night thing. So my rule is middle of the day. If you want to know what's going on in the world, you check it on your lunch hour. That's it. That's it. Maybe on your way home from work, but then you turn it off and maybe you need like a 1 minute clearing meditation before you move from car to home or office to living area, just to really clean up those spaces and set really good, healthy boundaries and not just set them, but practice them. And all of these are reasons why coaches and mentors like we are so helpful because it's easier to say that than to stick to it unless you have somebody who's done it, who's been through it, who supports you, and who knows the tricks and the troubles that can come up and guide you through the change because we don't like change. It's uncomfortable. And making those changes, it helps to have a buddy or an accountability partner or a coach to make them financially or happily, right?
Exactly. I mean, that whole thing, we're not able to see our nose very well. We're see, we need somebody else to, hey, you got something there.
Yeah,
Very helpful.
exactly. Exactly. Because, we're such blind people when it comes to our own stuff. And often until we become more aware and until we practice that self-awareness and really, really are willing to look at our stuff, you know, and I always use the word loving. You'll hear me say that 100 times a day in a loving way, not in oh, I'm a bad person. I should beat myself up about this. No, you're human and we want to be compassionate and kind to ourselves and practice all those tools that can help us forgive the past and move toward a brighter, happier future. Hopefully one that's more financially free as well.
Oh, yes. Well, that was something that I learned the hard way. It's my initial, going into business, and I had my blog, and it was just around financial freedom and money. And I got those goals, and then I wasn't fulfilled. And that was worse. Like, holy smokes, when you get what you say you want, and then it wasn't actually the feeling that you were looking for.
Yeah.
And that's when I had to go on my own happiness journey and do a whole heck of a lot of deep work. And I'm so grateful I did it because you can pop out the other side and enjoy things so much better.
So much more. And that's not to say that life doesn't still happen now and then, right? Like stuff comes up, but the goal is not to be happy all the time. It's to be able to move through whatever life brings to us, good, bad, positive, negative, or everything in between, with some grace and ease and self compassion so that it's not so hard and we don't get stuck in it. So I define happiness as this inner peace and well being. So, an inner sense of peace and well being that doesn't depend on your circumstances. Because again, we can't change those, but we can use the tools on what's inside here and here, right?
So Beyond true. And I think most of that just comes from I like tying it back where you said about that influence. And so making sure somebody in that five sphere is someone who does bring you up and
Yes.
like inspires, and hopefully there's a mentor of some sorts in that influencer, because that's what brings you up. And then filling those people that are reflective. And there's been people that are in my circle that were bringing, like, we're not, like, I cared about them, though that was not who I wanted to be, or, just kind of, and it's those, I love how you mentioned boundaries, because it's hard. And I set some firm boundaries, like coming into the new year. I
Mhm.
was asked the question, like, what do you need to let go of to
Yeah.
bring the success that you're looking for and what you want? And I had to let some people go. And I'm like, like, you're not adding to my happiness and balance. You're kind of driving me crazy.
Yeah, and those can be tough conversations to have with yourself and with others, to recognize that sometimes the people that we're going through life with are our family, and they might drive us crazy, or our neighbor or our coworkers or colleagues. And we get to use that phrase, which I use a lot. We get to decide who we are willing to invest our own energy into. And we can still love them and not spend time with them.
So, and
For
that's the
as
most
much
loving
time.
thing on ourselves, and that's where it
Yeah,
was like, and it was hard. And it was like, who's winning? And I love to do the win win. And when you in any position are not winning, then it's a lose win. And
right.
that's not a healthy relationship for you or the other person as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's a subject we spend like an entire month on in my group program.
Oh,
Because relationships and boundaries are, we're by nature givers, most of us, right? And it can be really challenging to set those healthy boundaries and to learn how to say yes to ourselves and lovingly say no to others. But it's worth the effort. And your life, if you chose one happiness tool of the like dozens and dozens that I teach, you can change your life. When you put them all into baby steps and build on them all, like life looks different. Ren, I was so excited. A couple of weeks ago, I did my end of the year surveys with my clients. And whenever anybody starts with me, we do a happiness assessment. We kind of score where they're at in a bunch of different areas that relate to the 7 habits of happiness. And I had all of my clients actually had started in the like high 30s or low 40s out of 100. So they were not happy. They were not experiencing very much happiness. Their self-esteem was super low. Their relationships were suffering. And 6 months later for a few of them, and a year later for a couple who've been with me a longer amount of time, their scores were all in the 70s. All in this, like 40-point increases for people who are now experiencing on a daily basis joy, laughter, happiness. Their relationships with themselves, first and foremost, have improved. They can now say no in a loving way to others and say yes to themselves and ask for what they want. And it's so beautiful to see my clients glowing in ways that they never have before, because now they're like, yeah, I do take care of myself. I do value myself. I do love myself, or at least I'm loving myself a little more every day. And that, all of that, for all of your people who are like in your group for financial joy and freedom, right? That all leads to that. Because think of a day when you've been really stressed out and what's been hitting the fan. Are you effective at your job, at your career? Not so much, because your brain is elsewhere. So when we learn how to lower our own stress and manage it better and use all these tools, then no matter what's going on, it might slow us down a little. To be true, we might need to increase the time we spend on self-care, but we'll stay nearly as efficient in our work because we know how to manage our emotions, the good ones and the rougher ones.
and that's priceless.
It is. And I definitely think that, to answer your very first question, is why happier people make more money over time, because we're able to stay centered more often than not.
Yeah. I'm thinking like I'm not sure what the name of it though, those little kids' toys. It's like the little punching things that you pop and then they come back up and then you
Oh,
pop and then they come back up.
I don't know what they're called either, but yes, that's it. I say that like life is like an ocean and we are surfing. And sometimes the waves get so big that they knock us down. But if we have, use the little ankle strap to put it on the surfboard, we might fall off and that's okay. But we don't lose the board and we're able to get back on. No matter how unbalanced we feel, we can get back on and we continue to ride the waves. And sometimes they're really smooth and life feels like and sometimes they're a little rougher, but we know that no matter what, we can keep riding.
Oh my God. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I want to leave it at that. I also want to say just a funny thing. I'm like, I hope it's not too off track though. As you're saying surfing, about a year ago, I was surfing in Costa Rica and I finally, like, I got up like the first wave and I was so happy. I came down, my foot was on fire. I had been attacked or went through a jellyfish. And
Oh,
like, and I'm sitting there bawling. So I'm like, oh my gosh, this stupid jellyfish stole my happiness, right? Like that's what it feels like.
uh-huh.
I'm on top. I'm surfing. I got everything I wanted. I'm finally surfing in Costa Rica. And the very first wave, it like totally and so I think putting in those happiness, one, thankfully I had a breath technique that I did while I was
Yes.
because I was like, I need to switch. I'm like, I'm in pain. This is wrecking my thing. And
Yeah.
so it's just like taking that moment on the beach and was like, where is my joy? Like,
Mhm.
and then I realized I don't want to go back out and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, like you've done the work and you use your tools. And some people who haven't might say, well, this jellyfish ruined my entire vacation or my entire day or my entire trip. Instead, for you, it ruined like a minute,
Yeah. And like
maybe an hour. But you use your tools and you're like, no, this is okay. I'm okay. This is all and you can still enjoy your life. Yeah, I love
and
it. Actually, that was totally on topic. I love that you brought that up.
yeah. And I
Yeah.
just remember, like, so I was sitting there kind of mopey afterwards, and a little bit in the jellyfish ruined my thing, and now my foot hurts and it
Yeah.
stings. Like, I even wanted to pull the Friends episode where they get stung by a jellyfish and get. I was ready to do that. I was in so much pain. Like,
Uh,
and I Googled it, it doesn't work.
oh, good to know. Good to know.
Um, what I also did is I happened to have, of all things, there was a business meeting scheduled for
Mm,
that time and I was planning to miss it because I was going to be surfing. And so when I found myself in my hotel room unexpectedly moping, I put myself onto that business meeting and I was like, I'm not doing business. I'm here on vacation. I just want to be in the room and switch
mhm.
my vibe to not feel sorry for myself that I'm, sitting in my hotel. And so that's part of it is like it whacks you, it
Yeah,
stings, and I also didn't let myself keep wallowing it. And I put myself into a situation that would bring me up.
I love that. That is like authentic happiness right there. Stuff happens, we feel what we feel, and then we make a decision that we're ready to move out of the moping, the wallowing, and shift gears back into feeling at least neutral, if not better.
Yes. So, and that was something interesting too, as you say, neutral is like that. I've been hearing more that it's actually like focus just on the neutral. It's so much better to be neutral than not negative.
Yes, because I'm all about it being for real. I don't want anybody to fake it until they make it or pretend that things are different than they are. And sometimes the way we think things are worse than they actually are. Nevertheless, I invite my clients to like really feel everything they feel, and you get to let it out and you get to talk about it. But there's a 7-step process that I actually teach in my group programs and with longer term clients where you go through the steps of feeling it and then honoring it and then becoming willing to shift it. And then we use our tools to shift it. And then we're able to communicate clearly if that's a need that we need to do, communicate with you, communicate with your partner, or your kids, or whoever, or just yourself, and it's a one of my favorite tools. And I tell clients still today, if this was the only tool I could ever teach, this 7-step process of feeling your freaking feelings is, is the one. Yeah.
And that's so powerful. So I know there's a lot you can teach people for if they work with you for a long time, though, if
Yeah.
they come to your event next week that you're
Yeah.
having, or whenever you're listening, if it happens to be later in advance, you
Yeah.
always have amazing things going on. So make sure that you get in Tamara's world.
Yes, get into my world. And since you're on Facebook, a lot of you listening right now, you can just click my profile picture and click on my profile and then join my group, Create a Life You Love Now. And if you can't find it, you can go to my website, which Ren is going to throw out
Some
there.
links around there
Google
too.
me.
Wherever you're watching the video, we'll make sure there's some links. And then if you're watching this video soon, she'll also put a link to her upcoming class so you can get
Yeah.
it.
Yes,
And so
yes, yes.
where is that in terms of like, so somebody's interested, what are they going to walk away with after they spend some time with you next week?
Beautiful. Well, I'm sharing next week the cost of unhappiness. So, what we're doing to ourselves when we're not doing this work. And those 5 days will culminate into a free hour-long, could run 90 minutes. I like to talk, class on the 7 habits of happiness. So, we're going to look at the opposite and what's going on for you and what you're not doing the work is costing you. And then I don't want to leave you hanging and high and dry. So then I'll be offering the following week a longer 1 hour to 90-minute session on here are the habits of happiness. So for every cost, we've got a solution, right? Every cost you're going to find a solution to. And okay, not every cost because it's 60 to 90 minutes. Let's be real. But as much as I can squeeze in there, and I always give people tangible tools to practice each day, each class, so that you walk away with a reality check into your own experience and hope, because that truly matters, that you feel hopeful that the tools will work for you, and they will work for you when you work them. So every day next week at noon, Monday through Friday, I'll be talking about the cost of unhappiness, and they can get that right in my group. So join my group right now.
We'll get all those links in there and that'll be fantastic. And thank you so much for putting that on, because I can tell that you know what you're talking about, and you also embody that. Like,
Mhm.
you're just so beautiful and exuberant. I'm like, no wonder we hit it off. Like, it's so
I know. Your energy is like so high. I love it so much.
it's the like unto like, right?
Yep.
Like, I'm not surprised that we resonate and get on each other's worlds.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks for this, Ren.
You are so welcome. And also, viewers, if you've made it this long, make sure, maybe there's someone in your world that you could share this with. So go ahead, you can, send them as a DM or forward it or tag them on the video, and definitely make sure to reach out. And if you have questions about either of our programs, we're there everywhere that you need. And there's going to be links around. And we're so excited to help you on your happiness, because you deserve to be happy.
Mhm. Amen.
Perfect. Okay, friends. Well, so much love and aloha. We'll make sure you get all of that and connect with. Wow, you've got, a whole week next week on happiness costs and then the solutions behind them. So make sure you know what it's costing you, because if you don't know what it is, it might be a secret drain that's running your battery and you don't realize it.
Yes, yes, yes.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for being here. I'm so grateful, and
Thanks,
it's a
Ren.
pleasure to know you and see more.
Yay.
Aloha.